breaking it down into the micro elements of this, other things that are crucial for our center of gravity is going to be permitting weather. And so weather is going to play a big effect on a quarterback's ability to, and overall the team's ability to play effectively. Ticket sales, right? So in order to have a fan base, right, were the tickets marketed correctly? And is there anything else going on in order to impact the ticket sales that would impact fan base, right? So we're looking at things that are going to impact our center of gravities, right? Now, critical vulnerabilities. Now, these are like the essentially the micro aspects that you don't think about that play a big effect into success here, right? So, for instance, personal life factors. Is there anything going on legally and player's life that could completely impede his ability to perform? Field conditions, right? Are there, like, so if, for instance, if you're the opposing team and you're on home turf, you know all the divots, you know all the areas that could possibly be slippery or maybe pose a threat to someone's ankle. So that could be a critical vulnerability. And past or current injuries, right? So if you know, like, one of the offensive lines guys' shoulder is out, or he had ACL surgery in the past season, right? That's a critical vulnerability for you as a defender that you're trying to get past the offensive line. You know where this guy's weak side is, okay? And so you can kind of see how this breaks down and into the more micro. And then I've also put on there water, right? How critical is water for the overall team's morale, and in order for the quarterback to essentially function properly, right? Perform at a high rate. Water is crucial, and it's something that 100% could be affected, right? Now this is all notionally, but if you were the team and you are on home field advantage again, right? And for instance, that would be one thing that you could target that would completely impede the team in the long run. So this is an example of a center of gravity analysis. Now, again, when it comes to any analysis, it is over time, and it is 100% you as an analyst have to be aware of your blind points, and you have to be aware of your own biases, because as you can see, I put multiple different things here because you can't just limit it to just one aspect. Now, I'm sure center of gravity is supposed to be just one specific thing. However, we have multiple here because these are very crucial elements to team's function. Now, the last thing I'll throw out there is in this sport, right? In any sport, you have playbooks, and sometimes playbooks get leaked or plays get leaked, and coaches on the sideline will start to annotate and identify different signals for plays. So that's kind of a luxury, right? And those plays are kept secret. But that's kind of a luxury in that line of sport, because as a kind of regular Joe Schmo on the streets, right? We don't have the playbook for these political and decision makers. We don't have the playbook for Teal and for the Kushners, right? We don't know exactly what it is that they are going to do. However, every once in a while, their plays leak out, right? Every once in a while, they go on a podcast and they show their true cards. Every once in a while, they'll tweet something out, or they'll make an investment, and it's public knowledge. And so it kind of shows where they're oriented, where their attention is, right? So those are kind of leaked plays. But that being said, we don't have the entire playbook, right? We're not behind closed doors, and we don't get to see the full plan for them. But just know these individuals have deliberate plans developed, and are not thinking too short-sightedly. They are 100% planning the stuff pretty far out, and And so they have, and so it's just remarkable, right? Because they have the same 24 hours that we do. The difference is they're just in a different position in life to make these decisions. Look at the company Anduril, right? Before, probably before the Trump administration, no one had heard of Anduril, and now they're everywhere, right? Now they're partnered up with Palantir. Now they are one of the leading contractors for the Department of War, and they are leading the way for developing the future technology and autonomous systems. And it was in a matter of a year and a half, 2 years, in which they got them. Not to say I don't know how long it took them to develop the technology or come up with ideas, but that's how long it took them to become big, right? So it takes time, right, to essentially position yourself in life and position yourself where you want to be in this game, but it's 100% achievable. Now, you obviously have to target something in order to basically make it to that point where you are up there playing, or you are at least countering the players. And so on the screen, we have U.S. data centers throughout the U.S. So this is according to the U.S. Data Center Tracker, which is a third party that it's an organization that essentially aggregates data from different sources, different government entities, and other organizations in order to cooperate them onto one product here. But if we look at it, we have currently 1,520 data centers throughout the entire United States, right? So this is the big thing everyone's talking about, right? But we're not. Everyone's going to the town hall meetings, and they're basically getting told to fuck off, and they're getting told to kick rocks. And so, evidently, what they're doing, our approach towards it, we have to take a different approach. If we can't trust our decision makers, well, we need to find a different approach, right? So, starting from the top, right, we're just going to conduct a sample center of gravity analysis. So at the top, we have center of gravity itself, the data centers, right? This is crucial. Data center itself is a center of gravity for any AI or any internet usage, just in general, right? These data centers are hosted. They host, or what am I trying to say? They're hosts for many different platforms, and without them, are what we know as the internet and the services that we, the softwares, the services that we are provided, would cease to exist. So these are crucial for the internets, and so critical requirements for these are location. So as everyone who's probably, if you're watching this, you probably know this, right? As you know, these infrastructures rely heavily on waterways for positioning. Now, I'm not doing it right now, but before putting this graphic on here, I did zoom into each, not every single one, but I was zooming into different ones across the nation to see just exactly where they're positioned. Now, there are some in like Arizona that weren't too close to waterways, but for the most part, every single one is within like several miles within, if not like right down the street from a water source of some sort, whether a river or a retention pond, something. The majority of these centers are around waterways, and so that is a critical requirement in order for these data centers to operate, in order for these AI companies to be successful. And so infrastructure requires power, manning, maintenance, and security. So these are the aspects that you got to think about when trying to think, okay, well, these things are coming in, right? How can we counter them, or what is it that we can do to prevent more data centers from being developed, right? These are elements that you have to take into account, different other aspects in order for these centers to be successful, right? I think critical vulnerability. So energy, funding, so they need to meet investors' needs, and then production, right? So funding is a critical vulnerability because that is 100% something we can impact. If you're invested in something and at a mass rate, people start pulling out, you can significantly impact a company's ability to continue its development. That being said, these companies are invested by billionaires, so that probably isn't an effective route per se, but that is one of the critical vulnerabilities. That being said, also they have timelines. They have things they've stated that were going to happen, and one of the big gaps within the AI community, or not the AI community, is whether or not they're going to be able to fulfill, their demands, their demand. I don't know what I'm trying to say right there, but um, and then lastly, production. So. Production. Don't remember where I was going with production, but that's our center of gravity analysis, right? And so, what you want to do is you want to break this down into finer bits of the micro elements that these things need in order to be successful. And so, for instance, like an example of a way that you could essentially, I guess, limit the spread of this is by investing in property on nearby waterfronts, right? Basically, limit the available land that is for these companies to buy up. Now, that being said, that is completely like for people that are financially well off, and so at the beginning, like if you're in your 20s, you're not making that much money, or you're in college debt, right? That might not be an option for you. So I'm fully aware of that, and so we'll get into some other options as far as going forward, some suggestions, right? But that is essentially center of gravity in a nutshell, center of gravity analysis, and this is 100% usable in any capacity of your life. You can identify your center of gravity in your family. You can identify center of gravity in your business, your company, right? And essentially, this is a way to identify threats, a way to not necessarily identify threats, but identify your opponent's weaknesses. That's the better way of describing it. Describing or identifying your opponent's weaknesses. Okay. So some considerations and takeaways. Counting on mass compliance and zero pushback from government entities. So all of these individuals that you see go on these podcasts or interviews, they always do this one thing. They neglect the power of the common person, right? And the reason why they do this is they'll put on masks. They'll go on like Joe Rogan, or they'll go on like these bro podcasts, and they'll like essentially try to like put the sheep costume on and pretend to be one of us. But these individuals have no interest in essentially providing us a stable nation. They have no interest in providing us any suitable life, or a way of living going forward. They are 100%. I mean, go watch Peter Thiel's interview about the human race and see his thoughts on the human race and whether or not we should be allowed to live. It's very, very much like these tech nerds that are completely just like isolated in their own world and trying to become their own gods, trying to rule this nation and establish their legacy, right? And so they don't care about you and I, right? You and I, what the fuck? Yeah, okay, that's right. Never mind. Oh, man, I'm fucking tired. But so some other considerations are undermining the human will to be free, right? So it's one thing to, I guess, lie to us about your what your plans are for these data centers or AI, or lie to us about policy making, right? It's one thing to lie to us when you're getting asked questions at a press conference, but it's a different thing to undermine our willingness to pursue freedom. And that is like one of our devout missions as Americans, is to pursue freedom. And you see this with the flock camera systems, these fucking college fucking nerds that are trying to be good boys and make a quick buck and sell the next big thing, and develop these fucking lousy AI camera systems that are designed to surveil everybody at a mass fucking rate and create a giant global national, or what do you call it, database that anyone has access to, that gets through a fucking police academy or through one of these fucking agencies. So these people care about fucking making a quick buck. They don't care about our freedoms. And so It's one of those things where some of the best security measures are some of the worst and